Tuesday, February 9th, 2021, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/CS Radio. You can find the print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer news readers. Today, once again, we're joined by Daniel Rayburn. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, man.
Thanks so much for joining us, and I will let you get right into the news. I'm going to go listen on Cypress Street.
Thanks. Good morning, Acadiana. As usual, it is my pleasure to be here with you, bringing you the news of today. We do have quite a few headlines to get to, so we are just going to jump right in as we typically do with headlines from around the Acadiana area. And looking at our first, it reads, Help for the homeless. Approaching freeze prompts Acadiana agencies to find ways to provide shelter. And this is written by Ken Stickney. Social service agencies scrambled Monday to find ways to house Acadiana's homeless, at least for a few days, as a freeze approaches the region. Low temperatures were forecast for the 20s and 30s by the weekend and lasting into the next week. Lee Rochelle, Executive Director of Acadiana Regional Coalition of Homeless and Housing, which helps meet the needs of homeless people in the 8-parish region, said that agency and its partners were seeking new ways to boost its freeze fund and find hotel space to accommodate people. Quote, "We are praying and willing away the cold weather," she said. "Fundraising is not keeping up, and we're going to have to utilize the hotel system again." Arch and others continue to grapple with an especially bad hand dealt to the homeless by COVID-19. The demand for social distancing, keeping people 6 feet apart or more during the pandemic, has caused homeless shelters in the area to close or pare down their services substantially. Rochelle said that the area is down about 200 available beds since last year. She said it is virtually impossible for someone rendered homeless recently to find bed space at any shelter in Acadiana. Some homeless people prefer to stay in their cars rather than risk exposure to coronavirus. Renewed recognition of the homeless problem got a jolt over the weekend when Lafayette police, in response to complaints, sent their mounted unit into fields and wooded areas in North Lafayette, seeking to break up camps and move along homeless people who were staying on private land. Police spokesperson Senior Corporal Bridget Duga said that the unit's 6 riders and other officers uncovered some camps with property that appeared to belong to people staying there. She said officers saw few people in the vicinity of the camps, although one man was arrested for an active criminal warrant on a theft case from the city marshal's office. Quote, "The goal was to locate and identify homeless encampments," Dugas said of the weekend search in a Facebook entry posted Monday. "Transit camps can negatively impact the community and the environment. Fires started in these woods could spread to nearby neighborhoods, causing severe property damage. Also, inadequate human waste disposal can pose hazard to water supply in the nearby communities." Dugas said complaints about homeless people have increased during the pandemic. They include panhandling, interrupting traffic, loitering, and trespassing. She said a second effort to root out camps may come this week in southern Lafayette. The Facebook post was met with a torrent of negative comments aimed at police. Quote, "Can't find something better to do than harass mentally ill homeless people," asked one person. "Disgusting display of police overreach," wrote another. "How much crap did your horses leave behind? And why do you hate the poorest of the poor down on their luck so bad that they're homeless? This is why everyone hates you. Hope you end up homeless too," wrote another. Rochelle said that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention advises that authorities not break up encampments unless there is a, quote, "non-congregated shelter available." "As a community, we have to have solutions ready," she said, which is what Arch was trying to effect with its partners Monday. She said police were doing their job, but there is, quote, "no place for people to go." She said people could donate to the Freeze Fund at bit.ly/freeze fund or at archacadiana.org. And now, we will move on to our next headline, which reads, Official autopsy suggests suicide as possibility in teen's death. Charles found dead November 3rd in Laurelville. And this is written by Megan Wyatt. The official autopsy report for Quan Bobby Charles suggests the teen's death may not have been a homicide or an accident, but instead a suicide. The latest report also reveals new details about the police investigation, alleging that the 15-year-old became combative, said he was going to, quote, going to kill himself, and may have had an episode of psychosis before his death. Charles' cause of death in the official autopsy report is drowning, as it was in the preliminary autopsy report and in an independent autopsy commissioned by the family. The teen's manner of death, however, remains undetermined, as it is in both the preliminary and independent reports. Dr. Christopher Tape, a forensic pathologist at the Louisiana Forensic Center, wrote in an opinion that it is unknown why or how Charles drowned. Quote, the uncertainties about whether this drowning represents an accidental, suicidal, or homicidal death makes an undetermined manner of death most appropriately likely, Tape wrote. Charles was found dead on November 3rd in the rural Iberia Parish village of Laurelville. His family had reported him missing on October 30th to the Baldwin Police Department. The family raised questions about how the case was handled by law enforcement, and the case gained national attention after the family shared a graphic photo they say was taken while identifying the body. The official autopsy report, which was completed February 5th, suggests wounds on Charles' face were caused by animals and/or insects after his death. Homicidal drowning is, quote, unlikely, but cannot be entirely ruled out, Tape wrote, noting there was no injuries before the death that suggested a struggle. The pathologist's report includes new details from the police investigation. Charles was found dead in a ditch, where his naked body was submerged in water, according to the autopsy report. The teen had been at home where he consumed drugs, including possible marijuana and psilocybin mushrooms, the report said. Witnesses said the teen later began acting erratically, according to the report, and was seen on surveillance video alone near the spot where his body later was discovered. Quote, the reported circumstances of becoming combative, crawling in the culverts, and saying he was going to kill himself suggest that he may have had an episode of psychosis, Tape wrote. The apparent undressing also suggests irregular, possibly psychotic behavior. These alleged episodes occurred after waking up from being passed out following the smoking of a substance, possibly THC. THC has been known to cause psychosis and/or unmask undiagnosed mental illness rarely. It is possible that the decedent was hallucinating due to psychosis, which led to disorientation, which then led to an accidental drowning. Toxicology results show relatively low levels of alcohol and THC, the main active ingredient in marijuana, with no evidence of hallucinogenic mushrooms or synthetic substances. Quote, suicide by drowning is rare but does occur, Tape wrote. The alleged circumstances of saying he was going to kill himself and the lack of injuries suggest suicide may be the manner of death. Intentional hyperventilation over water can cause an individual to pass out and drown. Shallow water blackout. Suicide during psychotic episodes is not uncommon and may have occurred here possibly. Attorneys for the Charles family said in a statement they believe homicide remains the only reasonable explanation. Quote, it is well understood that the accidental drowning by an able-bodied person in ankle-deep water is nearly impossible, wrote attorneys Ronald Haley, Chase Treshell, and Diedrich A. Moore, and Ryan Thompson. Quote, accidentally, while the report notes that suicide by drowning is rare, it also indicates that a struggle as part of a homicide could not be ruled out here as well. The attorney suggested the witnesses are merely trying to protect themselves with their accounts of what happened as the last known people to see Charles alive. The attorneys pointed to the background of one of the witnesses, who they said has been accused of domestic violence, child neglect, and stealing prescription medication and money. They said the woman lost custody of 2 of her children, allegedly dropping her then 2-year-old son on the floor and allowing him to drink her beer. The Acadiana advocate is not identifying the witnesses because law enforcement has not named them as suspects or people of interest in the case. The attorneys say that it has been long enough evidence to make an arrest in the death of Charles. Quote, a beloved 15-year-old boy was taken from his family, the attorneys wrote. Those responsible have been permitted to pack up and flee in the dark of night, and the police have refused to take action. There has been a supreme and catastrophic failure of law enforcement from the minute Quan Charles was reported missing, and that failure must end now. And with that, we will now take a short step away from the headlines for this PSA. Everyone should have shelter, and Louisiana nights are getting colder. Due to COVID-19 and concerns for community spread, there has been a dramatic decrease in available shelter beds. That means many experiencing homelessness may have no other option than to sleep on the street. Throughout this pandemic, Acadiana Regional Coalition on Homelessness and Housing has been able to utilize local hotel and motel rooms as a temporary housing solution. From there, case managers help our fellow Acadians transition to permanent housing. Arch is very proud of their success in keeping those they serve safe from COVID-19 and on their way to long-term stability. However, the number of homelessness is growing, and Arch needs your help to get our neighbors out of the cold and into warm, safe housing. Can you help today? If so, please go to archacadiana.org. That's ARCHacadiana.org. Or if you would prefer, please give by check and mail to ARCH at P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, Louisiana 70502. Now, we will return to our headlines from across the Acadiana area with our next, that reads, Lafayette City Council to consider mask mandate. Special meeting called Tuesday to look at emergency ordinance. And this is written by Claire Taylor. The Lafayette City Council has called a special meeting Tuesday to consider an emergency ordinance that would require anyone visiting or working inside public buildings and businesses to wear masks to help slow the spread of COVID-19. Governor John Bell Edwards signed an order placing restrictions on businesses and crowd sizes, but Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory said it is not the job of local police and fire departments to enforce the state restrictions. As of Monday, the Louisiana Department of Health reported 18,945 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Lafayette Parish and 2,133 probable cases, along with 225 deaths attributed to the virus and another 16 deaths probably caused by the virus. The proposed ordinance, released to the public for the first time Monday afternoon, states that the Home Rule Charter provides the City Council with authority to provide for the life, health, property, and public safety of residents and visitors by requiring masks. If approved, the ordinance would require anyone visiting public or government buildings and businesses that provide goods or services to the general public, including bars, restaurants, medical facilities, movie theaters, and entertainment centers, to wear a mask or other face covering. Employees who have direct contact with the general public also would be required to wear a mask, including cab drivers or ride-hailing drivers. Businesses or organizations would be responsible for enforcing the mask mandate in their buildings. The Lafayette Police Department and other agencies with authority could write citations against businesses and organizations, with the exception of religious institutions that do not enforce the mask mandate, the ordinance states. The first two violations come with warnings. A third gets the violator a misdemeanor summons and increased penalties for subsequent violations. The ordinance does not specify the penalties to businesses that do not enforce the mask mandate. If a visitor or employee refuses to wear a mask or leave the building when asked, he or she could face trespassing charges or other criminal charges. The ordinance does not spell out the penalties, but a first offense trespassing conviction is punishable by a fine between $100 and $500 and up to 30 days in jail. There's a loophole in the ordinance. A customer or employee may claim they qualify for a mask exemption, in which case the business or group would not be required to comply with the mask ordinance. The mask mandate would be in effect until the governor's emergency order expires. City Council members Glenn Lazard and Annette Cook in January announced plans to ask the council to approve a mask mandate as COVID-19 continues to claim lives in Lafayette. Last week, however, Cook withdrew her support for the mask mandate, saying some of her constituents are troubled about government overreach, and she spoke with several medical professionals who don't agree that masks are effective in slowing the spread of the virus. 3 votes of the 5 council members are needed to adopt the ordinance. If it's approved, Guillory would veto the measure. Could veto the measure. The council would need 4 votes to override the veto. Council Clerk Veronica Williams said Monday afternoon that in the past 1.5 weeks, the council office received 2,317 calls about the mask mandate, excluding duplicates. That includes 1,360 people against requiring the use of masks and 957 in favor of the mask mandate, she said. The emergency city council meeting begins immediately after the regular city council meeting, which starts at 5:30 p.m. Tuesday at 705 West University Avenue. The public is invited to attend and comment. And now, we will move to our next headline, which reads, Protesters' charges dropped. Woman barbecued on street near Guillory's house. And this is also written by Claire Taylor. Charges against a Lafayette woman for barbecuing in front of Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory's house have been dropped. Tara Fogelman-Laxey, 46, announced on Facebook outside the Lafayette Parish Courthouse Monday that the district attorney's office dropped 2 misdemeanor charges against her related to the August grilling protest. Laxey set up a grill and barbecued burgers and hot dogs on the side of the street in front of Guillory's house, hoping, she said, to get him outside to talk to her about the fatal shooting of Trayford Pellerin by 3 police officers a few weeks earlier. She was charged with obstruction of public passage and disturbing the peace for the August incident. The Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office served her with papers last week telling her to appear in court because District Attorney Don Landry, who took office in January, was pursuing the charges. Laxey said following the court hearing Monday that she agreed to stay 100 feet away from Guillory's wife and children, but is allowed to continue protesting, even at City Hall and during meetings where Guillory is in attendance. Her attorney, Marcus Allen, said the stay-away order does not apply to Guillory when he is operating in his public capacity as mayor-president. Allen thanked Landry and Assistant District Attorney Lance Beal for working out an amicable agreement with Laxey so that the charges could be dropped. He also noted that District Court Judge Royale Colbert, new to the bench after having been seated in January, said he doesn't want anything to restrict Laxey's First Amendment free speech rights. Contacted by email Monday afternoon, Lafayette Police Department Public Information Officer Bridget Dugas said, because the investigation into Pellerin's shooting death was still under investigation, she was unable to advise whether the police officers involved are still on leave. Louisiana State Police is investigating. And now, we move to our next local headline, which reads, Man leads police to missing girl. Registered sex offender taken into custody. A sanitation worker who acted quickly led police to a missing 10-year-old girl from New Iberia, authorities said Monday morning. The girl was found safe in St. Martin Parish on Monday morning, according to the New Iberia Police Department, and 33-year-old Michael R. Surreal of New Iberia has been taken into custody related to her disappearance. Surreal is a registered sex offender, according to a listing on Iberia Parish Registry. He was convicted in 2006 of carnal knowledge of a juvenile. Authorities issued an Amber Alert for the girl Sunday night, saying they believe she was in imminent danger after she was seen getting into a sedan with Surreal. The alert was issued statewide at 11:25 p.m. Sunday by state police. Dion Merrick, a sanitation worker, shared a Facebook video Monday morning from the scene in St. Martin Parish. He said he noticed the gray sedan parked in a field and recognized it from the Amber Alert. Law enforcement officials can be seen in the video surrounding the car and taking a man into custody. Quote, people act like they see stuff, but they don't want to say nothing. But she's safe now. Thank God, because I got a little girl. I'm on my job doing what I gotta do, Merrick said. The girl is being evaluated by medical personnel, authorities have stated. Surreal is being held without bail in the Iberia Parish Jail on a charge of aggravated kidnapping of a child and failure to register as a sex offender. Anyone with information is asked to call the New Iberia Police Department at 337-369-2306 or 911. Staff writers Julia Gilbo and Carly Coleth Wells contributed to this story. And with that, we will move to our last headline from the Acadiana area. And it reads, Oil Center named to National Register. Historic buildings within district eligible for tax credits. The National Park Service, which manages historical sites, recently designated Lafayette's Oil Center as a National Register Historic District, according to a statement from the Lafayette Consolidated Government. Owners of historic buildings within the boundaries of the new district are eligible to apply for federal and state historic commercial tax credits, according to the statement. Tax credits are intended to assist historic property owners with rehabilitation, maintenance, and repair costs. Many rehabilitation projects are eligible for a 20% state tax credit and a 20% federal tax credit as well. The state tax credit requires a minimum qualified expenditure of $10,000. To qualify for federal tax credits, qualified rehabilitation expenses must exceed the value of the historic building. All projects must be approved before work begins, and all work must be completed according to the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation, according to the statement. Buildings must be retained for 5 years to receive the full value of the credit. Businessman and philanthropist Maurice Hyman developed the Oil Center in 1952 as an office complex for the burgeoning petroleum industry. The new National Registered Historic District contains 40 buildings as well as landscaping and a specifically developed roadway pattern. Of the 40 buildings within the district's boundaries, 28 buildings contribute to the historic significance of the district, along with the historic landscape features and the roadway pattern. To learn more about historic properties and commercial historic tax credits, contact Roxana Usner, staff liaison to the Preservation Commission in the Lafayette City Government's Development and Planning Department at 337-291-7193 or at rmusner@lafayettela.gov. That, we will once again take a step away from our headlines to bring you today in history, our famous birthdays, and the daily horoscope. The Today in History is brought to us by the Associated Press. Today is Tuesday, February 9th, the 40th day of 2021. There are 325 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history. On February 9th, 1825, the House of Representatives elected John Quincy Adams president after no candidate received a majority of electoral votes. On this date, in 1870, the U.S. Weather Bureau was established. In 1942, the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff held its first formal meeting to coordinate military strategy during World War II. In 1943, the World War II Battle of Guadalcanal in the Southwest Pacific ended with an Allied victory over Japanese forces. In 1950, in a speech in Wheeling, West Virginia, Senator Joseph McCarthy, Republican of Wisconsin, charged the State Department was riddled with communists. In 1960, Adolf Coors Company chairman Adolf Coors III, 44, was shot to death in suburban Denver during a botched kidnapping attempt. The man who killed him, Joseph Corbett Jr., served 19 years in prison. In 1962, an agreement was signed to make Jamaica an independent nation within the British Commonwealth later in the year. In 1964, the Beatles made their first live American television appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show, broadcast from New York on CBS. In 1971, a magnitude 6.6 earthquake in California's San Fernando Valley claimed 65 lives. The crew of Apollo 14 returned to Earth after man's third landing on the moon. In 1986, during its latest visit to the solar system, Halley's Comet came closest to the Sun. Its next return will be in 2061. In 2002, Britain's Princess Margaret, sister of Queen Elizabeth II, died in London at the age of 71. 10 years ago today, thousands of workers went on strike across Egypt, adding a new dimension to the uprising as public rage turned to the vast wealth President Hosni Mubarak's family reportedly amassed, while close to half the country struggled near the poverty line. 5 years ago today, Republican Donald Trump posted a decisive victory in the New Hampshire primary, while Democrats lined up behind Bernie Sanders in their own act of anti-establishment defiance. President Barack Obama unveiled his eighth and final budget, a $4 trillion plus proposal freighted with liberal policy initiatives and tax hikes. 1 year ago today, U.S. officials said airline passengers from China, including those who had been in China in the last 14 days, were being funneled to 11 airports to ensure they received medical screenings and treatment for the coronavirus. Now we will take a look at today's famous birthdays. We start with retired television journalist Roger Mudd, who is 93 today. Actor Janet Sussman is 82. Nobel Prize winning author J.M. Coates has turned 81 today. Actor-politician Sheila James Cool of TV's The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis is 80 today. Singer-songwriter Carole King has turned 79. Actor Joe Pesci is 78. Singer Barbara Lewis has turned 78 as well. Arthur Alice Walker is 77 today. Actor Mia Farrow has turned 76. Former Senator Jim Webb of Virginia is 75 today. Singer Joe Ellie has turned 74. R&B musician Dennis D.T. Thomas of Kool and the Gang has turned 70 today. Actor Ed Armtrudo is 65. Former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe has turned 64 today. Jazz musician Steve Wilson is 60. Country singer Travis Tritt is 58 today. Actor Julie Warner has turned 56. Actor Sharon Case is 50. Actor Jason George has turned 49. Actor-producer Charlie Day is 45 today. Rock singer Chad Wolf of Caroline Lyre is 45. Actor A.J. Buckley is 44. Rock musician Richard Awn of OAR is 42. Olympic silver and bronze medal figure skater Irina Slutskaya is 42. Actor Tom Hiddleston has turned 40 today. Actor David Gallagher is 36. And finally, actor Michael B. Jordan has turned 34 today. With that, we'll now turn to our daily horoscope. We begin with Aquarius, which is birth dates of January 20th to February 19th. Someone will outsmart you if you don't prepare appropriately. Leave nothing to chance. and you will outmaneuver anyone who tries to upstage you. For Pisces, which is February 20th to March 20th birth dates, look for an opportunity and don't hesitate to take advantage of an offer. How you conduct yourself will make an impression on someone who can help you advance. For Aries, to April 19th, keep things moving forward. A positive attitude will help ward off interference. Stay focused on what you're trying to achieve. It's a good day for romance. For Taurus, which is birth dates of April 20th to May 20th, put your differences with colleagues aside. Focus your energy on getting things done on time. It's up to you to make decisions that support your happiness. Make an effort to promote relaxation. For Gemini, which is May 21st to June 20th birth dates, take on something that interests you. A new position, project, or partnership will challenge you intellectually and push you to learn more and take care of yourself and your financial future. For Cancer, which is June 21st to July 22nd birth dates, offer suggestions, do your part, and put unfinished business to rest. Handle money matters, contracts, or joint endeavors with enthusiasm. Your efforts will result in reward. For Leo, which is birth dates of July 23rd to August 22nd, don't let the actions of others upset you. Take the initiative, look out for your interest, and get things done on time. Opportunity is apparent, but it's up to you to take advantage of it. For Virgo, which is August 23rd to September 22nd birth dates, live and learn. Take your time, listen carefully, and make changes that improve your social standing. Don't take a risk with your health. Do what's best for you. For Libra, which is birth dates of September 23rd to October 23rd, control your emotions and concentrate on your responsibilities. How you conduct business, handle investments, and deal with health issues will be crucial. Be mindful of others when making changes. For Scorpio, which is October 24th to November 22nd birth dates, proceed with caution. A problem with a partner, friend, or relative will surface if you are outspoken or indulgent. Be introspective and let situations unfold naturally. For Sagittarius, which is November 23rd to December 21st birth dates, take hold of whatever situation you face. Be positive, offer insight, and make conclusions based on facts, not on hearsay. The way you present your ideas will determine how they're greeted. And finally, for Capricorn, which is December 22nd to January 19th birth dates, formulate your plan, then put it into motion. Don't let what others do or say deter you from reaching your destination. A unique approach will lead to an exciting offer. We will move back to the news, broadening our scope to headlines around the state of Louisiana. Our first state headline reads, 4 state police troopers face arrest in Monroe. 4 Louisiana state police troopers are facing arrest following a criminal investigation into use of force encounters at the agency's Monroe-based Troop F, which was already reeling after a series of scandals over the past several months and an ongoing federal civil rights probe. Colonel Lamar Davis announced the forthcoming arrest in an internal email to subordinates Monday. State police officials disclosed the arrest publicly Monday night. The announcement came amid several investigations of possible misconduct, including 2 incidents in which troopers had been accused of brutally beating black suspects. The new arrest appeared to stem from previously unreported incidents. The agency's public statement did not identify alleged victims. The following troopers were arrested Monday: Dakota DeMoss, 28; George Harper, 26; Randall Dickerson, 34; and Jacob Brown, 30. This marks Brown's second arrest in recent months after investigators apparently found him guilty of criminal acts in 2 separate cases. State police released few details Monday about the incidents resulting in the new arrest. Officials said the first occurred in July 2019 during a traffic stop in Wiskachita Parish, which troopers found drugs in a vehicle. After making the arrest, Brown and Dickerson used excessive force on the handcuffed driver, deactivated their body cameras, and lied about, quote, alleged resistance by the suspect, according to the state police. Both troopers in that incident were arrested on simple battery and malfeasance in office counts. The second incident occurred in May 2020, following a car chase in Franklin Parish. After troopers used spike strips to stop the fleeing vehicle, the driver, quote, exited the vehicle and immediately lay on the ground in a compliant position, according to the news release. But troopers DeMoss, Harper, and Brown nonetheless used excessive force and deactivated their body cams. They were arrested on counts of simple battery and malfeasance. Brown also falsified reports and faces an additional count of obstruction of justice, officials said. Allegations of misconduct at Troop F started surfacing last year after the family of Ronald Green sued the state police, claiming troopers beat the man to death following a May 2019 traffic pursuit, and then lied about their actions. The agency has thus far refused to release body cam footage of the encounter to the public, though Green's family was allowed to review it. State police had initially claimed Green died upon impact after crashing his car during a police chase. But the lawsuit alleges that troopers actually beat the man to death, leaving him, quote, bloodied and in cardiac arrest, before covering up what happened. The Department of Justice opened a federal civil rights investigation, which remains ongoing. Brown was previously arrested in December and accused in another beating of a black suspect, Aaron Bowman, who also sued the agency. In that case, Brown was arrested on 1 count each of aggravated second-degree battery and malfeasance in office. In addition to allegedly beating Bowman with a flashlight, the trooper was accused of trying to hide the body cam footage from his superiors. Davis said in an internal email to troopers Monday that he understands that this is difficult news for Troop F and the rest of the agency. He called the decision heart-wrenching. Quote, although we once again face a situation that will undoubtedly bring negative public attention to our agency, we must remain committed to holding each other accountable, he wrote in a message, a copy of which was obtained by the advocate. This will build trust, internally as well as externally, in the communities we serve. Davis, appointed in October, asked his subordinates to never, quote, lose sight of who we are and what we represent. He asked them to remember feeling proud upon graduating from the State Police Academy and donning their uniforms for the first time. On to our next state headline, which reads, Fiscal watchdog chooses church over audits. and this is by Mark Bellard. Louisiana Legislative Auditor Darrell G. Perpera said Monday he's moving to a higher calling as pastor of a Baptist church, and would step down March 2nd after a decade as the state's chief watchdog over how government agencies spend public money. Perpera has served as legislative auditor since chosen by a majority of the legislature on April 6, 2010. But the 59-year-old certified public accountant has been working in state government since graduating from LSU in 1985, first as an auditor for the State Department of Agriculture, then in the Legislative Auditor's office since he was 21 years old. The auditor oversees a staff of accountants and investigators who review the books of more than 3,500 state and local government units and affiliated entities. Years ago, Perpera had volunteered to handle youth ministry at the First Baptist Church of Central. When the minister left 4 years ago for another pulpit, Perpera started filling in. The congregation voted to offer him the ministry full-time. "That's where my passion is right now," Perpera said. "The time is right. The church needs more attention." As auditor, he's proud of insisting state requirement systems make more conservative presumptions about the investments that are used to pay pensions for state employees, troopers, teachers, and others. Also, he required more thorough reports from the private accounting firms that review local and parish finances. That move picked up faster in local jurisdictions that are on the edge of financial problems. The most recent list of fiscally distressed municipalities has 20 towns and villages. The early warning system allows auditors to work with Louisiana's chronically underfunded municipal governments in hopes of keeping them from sliding into state oversight during an appointed administrator pushes aside popularly elected officials and takes control of the finances. He also set off a storm when one audit criticized that Medicaid, government health insurance coverage for the low income, quote, is being run kind of willy-nilly, loosey-goosey, without tightened controls. His comments gave cover for several high-profile Republicans, including U.S. Senator John Kennedy and Attorney General Jeff Landry, to blast the Louisiana Health Department run by Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards' administration. Perpera said his announcement during Monday's Legislative Audit Advisory Council meeting, made that announcement. State Senator Jay Leno and Alexandria Democrat, who has occasionally criticized how Perpera's audits have been used politically, immediately and jokingly moved not to accept Perpera's resignation. Perpera said that the decision of a successor is totally in the purview of the Louisiana legislature, but he hopes lawmakers consider someone from his office's staff. By law, a candidate has to be a certified public accountant. Quote, "But you should be able to perform a government audit. Talk the talk," said Perpera, who was the first auditor chosen for the office staff. "It really shouldn't be a political position. The auditor should be bipartisan and just tell it like he sees it," he said. One of the first to hold the position, back in the 1930s when it was called Supervisor of Public Accounts, was Alice Grosjean, a 20-something-year-old aide to Huey Long, who the Kingfish first appointed as Secretary of State, and then to what amounted to the state's overseer of how tax dollars and loans were spent. Changes in the position were made in 1936, the year after Long was killed in the halls of the state capitol. The job was renamed Legislative Auditor in 1962, when the authority over the office was moved from governor to the legislator. The auditor's job description was put for the first time in 1974 in the state's constitution. Article 3, Section 11, laid out that the auditor would double-check how government agencies were spending public dollars. The Constitution also required the auditor to be approved by a majority in each legislative chamber. Perpera has been first assistant legislative auditor to Steve Theriault, a former Jefferson Parish legislator who was auditor from 2004 to 2010. Perpera assumed the top position temporarily until elected by a majority of the House and Senate from a slate of candidates submitted by a recommendation commission. Theriault replaced Dan Kyle, who had been an accounting professor at LSU until appointed Legislative Auditor in 1989. Under the law, Prepara's first Assistant Auditor Thomas H. Cole would take over as auditor temporarily until the legislator decides. House Speaker Clay Schexnayder, a Republican of Gonzales, and Senate President Paige Cortez, Republican of Lafayette, will meet later this week to decide the next steps. Cole had no comment when asked if he was interested in becoming the next auditor. In 2010, a commission considered any nominees submitted by a member of the legislature. The commission was comprised of the President and President pro tempore of the Senate, the Speaker and the Speaker pro tempore of the House, the Chairman and Vice Chairman of the Legislative Audit Advisory Council, and the Chairman or Vice Chairman, if designated to serve by the Chairman, of the following committees: Senate and Governmental Affairs, House and Governmental Affairs, Senate Finance, House Appropriations, Senate Revenue and Financial Affairs, and House Ways and Means. And with that, we will now move to the world of sports for what will be our final headline of the morning. Our sports headline reads, UL softball dominates preseason all Sunbelt polls. Summer Ellison, Alyssa Dalton named preseason pitcher player of the year. And this is written by Kevin Foote. Game week is finally here for the 2021 UL Raging Cajuns softball team. The number 9 ranked Raging Cajuns are scheduled to begin the season at 4 p.m. Friday against Missouri State at Lamson Park before a 6:30 p.m. meeting with Baylor. Quote, "We'll find out quickly where we're at and how prepared we are," UL coach Jerry Glasgow said. "We're hoping that we're prepared and we feel good. The health of the squad is good. We've got good numbers. We feel like we know who we need to play. We feel like we've got a deep squad with 15, 16 players that any of them can be in our 9, and we can win the game if we play well." Glasgow said last week's forecast of extremely cold temperatures for this weekend now predicts it to be in the 40s, so all signs currently point towards an actual Friday start to the season. On Monday, the Sun Belt Conference officially recognized Glasgow's squad as the unanimous favorites to win the Sun Belt Conference championship. A quick glance at the preseason All-Sun Belt team clearly illustrates why, with 7 Cajuns on the team. Leading that parade are preseason Pitcher of the Year Summer Ellison and preseason Player of the Year Alyssa Dalton. Quote, "I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity," Ellison said. "I'm very thankful for Coach Glasgow and everything he's done for me. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm ready to go to a national championship and win it with this team." Ellison got married in the offseason and returns for her 4th season as Cajuns ace. Quote, "Now I'm really ready to go," said Ellison, who was 11-1 in the shortened season last year with a 1.83 ERA, allowing only 48 hits and striking out 80 in 76.1 innings. Quote, "The team is looking great." While the Sun Belt honors weren't unexpected, Dalton said they're still special. Quote, "It still means something," said Dalton, who hit 400 2 seasons ago and hit 444 in her final 6 games last season to finish 290 for the year. Quote, "We're very lucky, very blessed to receive any kind of recognition or honors like that." And with that, we will close our morning by looking at the funerals today in the Acadiana area. And there are 2. Our first is Yvonne Castile. with services at La Chapelle de Martin and Castile in Lafayette at 2 p.m. And also Gordon LeBlanc with services at St. Landry Catholic Church at 2 p.m. And with that, this has been Local News Live for February 9th, 2021. I've been your reader, Daniel Rayburn. Please join us at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on AOC 1, Cypress Street Radio, or the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube. You can read these stories and more at theadvocate.com and find out how to volunteer and more at aocinc.org. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you will join us again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a great day, Acadiana.